Okay guys, this is the tutorial in which I'm gonna show you and explain everything you need to know to deal with the Easy Render Raytrace. This I first released it with the name of Eevee Render, but I decided to change to Eevee Easy Raytrace just because actually what basically this scene is doing is capturing ray trace, some ray trace lighting and the ray trace shadows and ambient occlusion from cycles and combining with Eevee. And why I'm doing this workaround? Basically because if you try to render that in cycles, you will be successful and you don't need to deal with none of these. If your goal is to render an interior shot, that's fine. I will tell you, go straight to cycles because you don't need to deal with anything. It maybe takes 40 minutes, 30 minutes to render 4K resolution, things like that. However, everyone knows how difficult it is to render in cycles animations for interiors and having noise-free flickering, right? Basically, if you try to render an interior scene in lighten it in cycles, period, in cycles, you have to deal with noisy, and you have to increase your samples, and more you increase your samples, more time it takes to render. And imagine if you have 1,000 frames to render or 700 frames to render for an interior animation shot, and that will be a nightmare for you if you have just one machine. But with this workflow you still will be using Eevee, and even taking the ray trace information from cycles, it still renders pretty quick, right? The most dramatic situation that I was dealing here using the same workflow, it takes a minute or so to render one frame, and because it was a scene with grass and bunch of geometry, and we know that Eevee still is not that much optimized for that. So, but most of the scenes it takes 30 minutes, 40 minutes, things like that, and the results, it really improves compared with just pure Eevee, right? And you don't have the noise problem for animations. That's the main point of this scene that I'm preparing for you. This scene is available in Gumroad, the link below, and it will be available on Blender Market soon, right? Because if Blender Market just needs to I just need to do a couple more things for Blender Market, okay? But for Gumroad is already available, and here I'm gonna explain you everything you need to know, because it's easy, it's simple to create a scene, it's simple to set up your scene, but you have to know how it works, and you have to know some information which is pretty basic, okay? Let's go. So first, that's the scene you're gonna get with the tool, right? That's the scene. So okay, it's a pink background with a plane, and that's all you need. Why? Because this plane has the grayscale shader, and I'm gonna show you why this is important, okay? And the pink background is because it's just a background with no texture, right? For example, that is the world, that's the world settings, right? This is important the way it is here now. This is set it up for this workflow. So if you want to change the texture, you have to go inside the node group and change your texture here, okay? Just choose any texture. Let's choose one, maybe one cloudy. I just want to be quick. I don't want to go to any 8 8K textures. I wanna go with 2K. Okay, 2K. Okay, let's choose maybe this guy here. Let's say, yeah, let's go this one. Okay, so that's just the texture for the background, right? It's an HDRI, right? Now we are gonna throw something here from maybe Blender Kit. Let's see if we have something interesting here. Okay, Blender Kit, it's not updating anything, and okay, that's fine. That's fine. I will create something here just to show you what I'm talking about. I'm gonna create this cube, okay? Do something like this, right? Here. Right? Something like this. Maybe making this face here. Okay. That's what you get in your Eevee scene right away. Okay, so let's go to the camera. Oh, this camera is set it up. Let's set up for video. Okay, so that is what you get with Eevee, pure Eevee. Okay, that's what you get. So if you render this out, it's not gonna be good. It's not gonna be good. Okay, let me go to the composition and I will explain you the composition later, but for now let's just connect this composition here and render this single scene. If you render this out, oops, image. Okay, if you render this out, that's what you get, right? Slot 1 out of the box. You have to put an environment probe inside, bake it, right? And let's do this just to show you how it would work if you use the regular Eevee, right? Let's put quick irradiance bake map here and maybe change it to this, right? To this. Right? This maybe here. Okay. Let's add here refraction cube map. That's how you do traditionally for Eevee. That's what you do. Okay, and then you bake your scene, direct lighting, normally comes with 3, and then you bake it, and then you get this, right? That's your bake, that's Eevee, right? If you put here a Suzanne, for example, let's just put a Suzanne. Okay. This scene came simplified. This scene came simplified for the maximum subdivision 1. But ideally, if you have maximum subdivision 0, it will be even better. It will be even better for optimization. When you hit render, it will render faster, right? Because it is like that. Let's add material, this Suzanne, maybe the material, let's make this metallic, okay, metallic, and the roughness, maybe something like this, okay. Okay guys, I love Eevee because I think that the quality in Eevee compared with some of the real-time options out there are really good, okay. Although we miss RayTrace, because we need more accurate lights and everything else, and everything here, the ambient occlusion here is based on screen space or things like that, so he can flicks and all, okay. If you hit render, that's what you get, okay. 1 second, basically 1-2 seconds render, okay. And you have these artifacts. It's okay, but it's not realistic. Let's say that's not realistic, right? Now let's render this using the approach that I'm showing you now, using the tool, okay. The tool is just get your scene, no probes, okay. Let's delete the lighting like as it is by default, and let's go back how it was from the very beginning and how you get the scene. The scene will be ready for that. I did this just to show you the difference. Now let's render using the approach. You hit F2. Then after it renders in Eevee, it goes to cycles, right? And then it blends like everything. Okay, first thing, you must notice that there's nothing really good here. It's super weird because everything, that's the first thing, everything you are gonna create here to render using this approach and getting the ray trace from cycles, it has to be inside the main collection, right? It has to be here inside the main collection. As soon as you put everything here, so all your collections, everything has to be here. It doesn't matter how much collections, you can have like all your structure for a project, but as soon as it is inside the main collection, okay? Now let's hit render again and see how the results goes. Okay, so first, huge difference. You can see that? You can see that, okay? The first render takes 1 second to render. This render takes 7 seconds to render. Why? Because it's taking the ray tracing from cycles, okay? However, in the scale of huge scene, in the scale of a large scene, that may take like 3 times more than Eevee, or maybe 2 times more than Eevee, and I don't know. If you put an entire scene, that may take a little bit longer, but not that much difference, okay? But see, if you put side by side, the difference is huge. You can see that? You can see how huge is the difference. That is pure Eevee, and that pure Eevee with bake and everything, and that is Eevee RayTrace, okay? And this ray trace is not screen space ray trace, so it's not based on a camera, so the camera can be moved, doesn't really matter, the light still will be nice. I'm gonna show you one animation that I did using this ray trace, and you see how the light behaves, okay? Just check it out. It's this one. Look at this. You see? So that's an important part. So using screen space global illumination, that's that's the that's where the Eevee development is going. So next step, Eevee next, we will have probably more accurate reflections, which is always welcome and will be awesome. But the GI solution is still will be, at least for now, screen space. So we do not have any announcement that Eevee will have RayTrace GI. But I believe it will happen eventually, but not for now. But with this approach, you don't need to have the screen space GI, okay? Because if you have the screen space GI here, by the time that these little Suzannes disappear from the screen, this area would be dark because the screen space would not be visible anymore, and then you would not see the source of the light here anymore, right? As soon as it disappears, it will not be able to cast any ray trace, and here it doesn't really matter, right? Why it doesn't really matter? I'm gonna show you right now. Because this scene, what this scene is doing is this. Let me go back to my world. Okay. What this scene is doing is this. Actually, you have two scenes. You have your main scenes and you have your cycles background scene. Okay. This scene is a copy linked to this other scene. And what this does is like take whatever you have here inside your main collection. Main collection is here and is in the other scene as well. Like link it. Wherever you have, whatever geometry or anything you put here in your main collection, it will be reproduced to the other cycles background scene. And I will show you what is the cycles background scene. The cycles background scene is nothing more than a cycles, okay? But you can see that the Suzanne is not reflective here. Why? Because all geometry, everything here will be ready as just pure gray material, okay? Why this is useful for us? Because if you don't have information on your reflections, if you have no texture and nothing like that, cycles will render way faster than the regular cycles, than a regular scene, okay? So it's not calculating any bouncing based on the roughness or nothing like that, so it's just pure gray, so that makes cycles render faster, okay? And that's the thing, like basically what this scene does, it takes Eevee, preserve what you have in Eevee, and render in the background a cycle scenes, everything in grayish, and combine that, okay, on the compositor and deliver the render, okay? I will show you why the plane is important. Why our plane is very important here. Because the plane has the structure that I had created for the shaders that allows cycles to have, allows you to use Eevee and in some specific shaders control things that cycles will render. I will show you here why that is important, okay? So basically if you render, your scene will be like this, okay? It's getting the same HDRI in the background. It's just because it's set up to not be showing. But here, if you go to transparency, you see it's the same background, okay? Once you select your plane, if you go to your material, you see that you have this grayscale material. This material is very important. It has to be there all the time because this is the material that Cycles is rendering all the scenes, right? So basically the render here is based on ID objects, right? Normally and it's very common. All the objects created in Blender, they came with ID 0. So that's the base, okay? That's the ID 0 base. Wherever you change your color here, it will be affecting the entire scene. Alright? So that's pretty much it. That's the base material. It's a white material, pure. Okay? It can be even not fully white, just for the sake of the GI. Okay? But you have other IDs, right? ID 1, for example, is for glass, right? Let's say you have a glass. Let's say that Suzanne is a glass in Eevee, okay? Let's say Suzanne is glass. So you don't want the Suzanne look like this in cycles, because you will have shadows here, ambient occlusion, things that will not appear in the glass. Maybe it works, but maybe it will make the glass a little bit darker, okay? So if you select Suzanne and you check it here, the material of a glass is 1, you change it 1, what is gonna happen? Automatically this scene will take that and use that as a glass. Is a perfect glass? No, because I configured that to work with Eevee. So that's the thing. Everything you get here is ready to go. So I already have struggling over and over again to get the best results out of this approach. So it is what it is. You always can change it for things that you think you can improve in this workflow, but this is the way it is. If you see here, it's not a perfect glass, but it will work. If you put a glass in Eevee and just set this guy as 1 for the pass index here in the object settings, that will work as a glass. The same here for the emission. The emission should be white. Okay, so let's say you have lights here, right? Let's put this guy 0 again. You have a light. Let's say that Suzanne is a light, emissive material. Okay, you don't want your light to be overplaced by these shadows and ambient occlusion. The same for the glass, right? So the only thing you have to do is replace this emission for 1. Oh, no, you see here, ID 2 for 2, and voila, you have your emission, right? That's what matters. The color of your emission can be changed here. It's up to you. All of this, it's up to you, okay? You have here transparent. Maybe you need just to have that object not being considered by cycles at any form for this, for the purpose of the blending. So you may press 3 and it's transparent, okay? And here is something very important, guys. So you have a list of IDs, ID 4, ID 5, ID 6. This, guys, means that whatever you put here, you can choose different things to render, okay? Different things. Let's say, in this case here, let's say, right, you will have, let's say, let's go inside. This, for example, let's bring it back, our Suzanne. Let's say you have a tree. Actually, let's put a tree here, just to show you how it works. Okay, select the main. Let's go to vegetation. I have an old version of vegetation here that I need to update. Okay, I want the tree. Trees from vegetation are good because you always can see the alpha maps. Okay, this is my tree from vegetation. Okay, It's all good here. Okay. If I go hit render, okay, it's fine, right? However, let's try to render this using the. Let's try to render this in Eevee and see how it goes. Eevees may taking more time to render just because every time you add an object in Eevee, it has to load the textures for the first time, and I didn't do that, so probably it will take a bit longer before it jumps into cycles. Okay. Okay. Can you see how bad this is? Why this is so bad? Why this is so bad? It's just because the leaves here, if you go to your Eevee, you see the shaders here? They are alpha maps, okay? But if you switch that to the cycles background, those are planes, okay? So basically cycles is rendering everything grayish because it's a plane, right? So the ambient occlusion will be wrong, just that, okay? In this case, how you can solve this, that's why you have all these IDs here, because in this case the only thing you should do is go into edit mode, separate the leaves from the tree, okay? And now in this leaf you will go to the material, the leaf, you will go to the material of the leaf, right? Get the alpha, that's the alpha, copy here, Ctrl C, go here, Ctrl V, put this color here, oh my goodness, a mess here, just bring it here, 4. Okay, now you just place the alpha you have in your leaves in the ID 4, okay? That's why you have these possibilities here if you need to place some alpha, right? Because now the only thing you have to do is just go into your leaf mesh and put the ID, in this case 4, and then you have the alpha happening right here, okay? So let's go back to Eevee. Sometimes these textures coming from Eevee, coming from vegetation, are not that good for Eevee. So maybe because of the translucency or things like that, the shader is kind of complex. Sometimes I have to change it. Let's just add a more diffuse here, value of 3 maybe, something like this, okay? And now let's render that again. You see that now it's preserving the alpha and everything, we have it here, much better, right? Let's cast just a light here and see better the texture of this tree. Something like this, maybe something like this, right? And maybe there's the light. So maybe put some yellowish. Do not forget to put the light inside the main collection, okay? You can create any collection here and put it inside. As soon as it's inside the main collection, it will render just well. Okay, if you hit render and then wait a bit. Voila. Now you have a tree. You see the shadows and everything is very accurate, right? So that's totally different from Eevee using SS Raytrace or any other method. Like, I think this is much more realistic, right? And let's move forward. So basically that's the workflow. The only workflow you need to have is to understand this structure here, right? And how to deal with these IDs. It's basically import your scene or create your scene from scratch using this template. And if you have any glass ID, you just put the ID 1 for the objects, all the objects with glass, and whatever you don't want to show in your scene is transparent or whatever, you put the ID 3, and whatever you have that it's an emission, you put ID 2, okay, which it will take the emission consideration. And alpha maps, you go here. If you have more, if you have 3 different trees, you do the same you did for the other leaf here and put the leaf ID 5. The other thing, grab the alpha map, put it here and change the ID to 6, 7 until 10. So you have 10 options of different IDs for transparency. I think that's more than enough things that you use in your scene. If you need more, maybe I will do that for the next update, but I'm already planning something even bigger for the next update, okay? But that's the base you have. Let's grab something from maybe Blender kit. Let's keep going. I'll show you again with using maybe another tree or another plant. Let's see. Okay. The problem is that Blender kit is not working right now. Oh, now it seems it's working now. Okay, it got back to work. Let's grab something. Let's see if we can find any interior scene. I just want to have a scene, right? So we can just play around more interior, because for interior that's what matters most for us, okay? Because I wouldn't be using Eevee for exteriors if you have some exterior that has lots of grass and trees. Not because this approach is not good, because cycles would render fast, but the problem is Eevee. Eevee is not optimized for instancing. So basically everything you have that is an instance in your scene, Eevee takes each instance as one unique object and not instancing. So it takes long to render because it takes long time to calculate that. Just because that's okay, that's maybe a good example. Just because that's an instance, okay? Yeah, that is maybe a good example. Yeah. but I really want to have more detailed scene. By the way guys, this is Blender kit. This is pretty good if you need to have things short your scenes and make everything quick, like grabbing objects and putting your scene quickly. That's a good tool. It's a You have a free version, but the paid version is $9 a month or something like that, and it's really nice. No. Okay, maybe this guy. SFI corridor. Interesting, eh? Very interesting. Let's see how it goes. Wow, that's good. Okay, let's test this out. I'm totally blind here, right, guys? I didn't plan anything. I didn't plan to get this corridor. Okay, let's see. How does that looks here in Eevee? Okay, let's see. First, Eevee has to calculate the shaders and everything, right? So that's why it's the first step when you do anything in Eevee is like in creating these shaders here. Oh boy, that's gonna be nice because this corridor was well made and it's already really good. Wow, okay, I like that. I like that pretty much. It's just one geometry. Oh yeah, oh my goodness, it's just one geometry. Really good, really good. Basically everything is happening here is screen space right now, so it's just this. If I turn it off, this it's pretty bad, okay, but if I turn it on, because we have lots of reflections and everything, it's really good, really good. Okay, first thing you have to do, you have to separate all your emissions from the geometry. All right, so how you are gonna do this? You're gonna go here. I know we have these objects here, this and this, right? And then we press P and we separate. I hope that will be copied to the other side, because now, yeah, okay, that's good. This object, by the way, I don't know who did that. Let's see here, who was this guy? It's pretty well done, man. Look at this. This is from QRM TRQGL. I don't know who is he, but he's really nice, man. He modeled really well. Okay, let's do this. The only thing we have to do this, we have to go to our emission, which is shader 2, and press 2 and change it here to 2. Okay, let's go back to our scene, and for the sake of the comparison, let's just go back and do what we did before. So we will render first just Eevee, right? Pure Eevee. What I'm doing? Single scene. Okay, let's render these. That's pure Eevee. Let's see how long it takes to render this corridor. Uh-oh. What is that? What is that? There's something in front of the camera. What is that? Ah, okay. Because the camera has the depth of field. The depth of field. I will just grab my camera. Oh, the corridor is not inside the main collection. You see how that is important? Just put the corridor scene inside your main collection, right? And you're empty here inside the main collection as well. And grab the camera, go to the depth of field and select the empty. Now that will be our scene. Okay, let's render that again. Come on, Eevee, come on, Eevee. Imagine if you have to render this scene in cycles. The amount of reflections you have in this scene and the amount of reflections with all the information of roughness and everything, and make it works well. That is insane, because for one shot it will be good, but for animations it will be terrible. Okay. Oh boy, I know what is happening. The problem is I had animated this guy by mistake, I guess. Let me delete all the animations, because blendering is rendering just all the animations. Okay, I have to delete that. Alright, now we should be good. Let's go back to our main angle, which is something around here. Okay, I want to do something like this, and maybe change it this a bit, something like that. Okay, cool. Let's see if now we can render. Okay, man, that's pretty decent, man. That's pretty decent. It can get even better. Let's see how it goes now with the Eevee Easy Raytrace. Okay, don't need to worry about this. I'm just putting back the settings. So now the first render took how long? I'm not quite sure, but I have this guy here activated that I forgot to deactivate it. So everything I'm doing is in animated. Okay, let's render that. And now what will happen? We will render the scene as we have it here, and then cycles will be catching up with the ray trace and everything. Okay, so and then we will see the difference from one scene to the other. Okay. Okay, here we go, guys. Let's see the comparison. Okay, that's our scene in Eevee, and that's our scene in cycles. Okay, so in Eevee we have way brighter environment overall. Okay, we have way brighter environment, and it looks like more inviting. However, if you go to cycles, you can tell that you have the shadows properly casted all over the surface. You see, everything is much more accurate. Okay, it's much more accurate. What you can do to make this scene look like more your Eevee scene. What you can do is two things. You can go here. Let's just put this as a render result. You can go to your compositor. Two things, right? You can go to your plane object. So now you have your material here. and you can increase the emissions to cast really lights, because right now the emissions in cycles are just this, like this. You can go here to your cycles background, the scene, go here, oh, I move my camera. You can go here to your cycle background and adjust here the emissions or your light in general. Okay, that's how your scene is being casted. So you can grab your emission here and put it maybe 4, and then you will have more emissiveness going from the emissions, maybe 7, right, something like this, right. Go back to your main scene in Eevee and render that again. But man, imagine the difference. I'll tell you the difference. If you try to render that purely in cycles and still getting all the roughness and everything going on in an animation, it will take a long time. So you will have like problems with dealing with increasing samples to kind of cleaning up everything and having no noisy in your scene, right? So now you have your scene, it's brighter, you have your lens flare going on all over the place, it's way brighter, your scene, you can see. That's how you have in Eevee, and that's how you have in cycles. You see that you still are using the screen space, so you have your roughness preserved here, and man, it takes 35 seconds against 12 seconds, basically 3 times more, but you see that you get really good quality out of your scene. Okay, let's do one more example. And if you want to change your lens, or every time you want to change something in your lens, you always can go to your compositor, right, and go to your effects, play around with these effects. This is the basic compositor that I place here, so you always can kind of remove completely the lens flare from your composition, right, or maybe adding just a little bit, so you still have some. Okay, instead of having the flare like flakes, you can just move it pure glow, so you just have the glow, all of it, right? I like to have a combination of both. I think it's more realistic, right? Really good, huh? You always can play around with your compositor, and it's here inside FX, right? Don't change these guys, just go here and do your thing here. Okay, let's, just for the sake of curiosity, this video is already really long. Let's finish this up, just deleting the corridor, adding one more scene, just one more scene. Let's find out something here. Okay, this house is a good example, maybe because we have that part in the interior. Okay, maybe this one. Yeah, okay, let's do this one. Okay, we grab this house here. This is another good example. Another corridor, interior. Okay, we have some good examples here, but let's go with this house. Put this inside main. This guy. Okay, let's just set up our scene here quickly. Something like this. Something like this. Okay. Take our camera, go up. Okay. Something like this. Right. If we go to Eevee, the same process, the same thing. It will load the shaders and everything. Okay. This is something that happened in Eevee. It doesn't matter if you are using this or if you are using the regular approach. Every time you add an object or something in your scene for the first time, it will lose the texture. That's just the first time, and then it runs well. I hope with the implementation of Vulkan technology they are doing now, I hope that gets better. Okay. Okay, let's see. In this case, let's remove these lines. I don't like to see these sometimes, the relationship lines. Okay, let's see. In this case, we have this glass material here, which are pretty bad. Okay, I will change this material for sure. Even for Eevee, I don't like it. So, how is this material? M glass. Okay, that's the material, right? For this glass. Okay. And it's too complex. I don't like that. I will delete everything. Oh no. That wasn't the glass actually. That's this called plastic. I don't know why I would have a mullion which is plastic. Okay, I want this, the glass. Okay, I think this is too complex and it's all over the place. I will just add a shader, principal shader, principal BSD, metallic, roughness, and reduce the alpha. Okay, so we can see inside. Alright, and here we will just put a blend, alpha blend, so we can see what's going inside, which you see it's very flat because there is no environment probes, there is nothing here. If you want to run into putting environment probes and trying to make every single part here works well, because you see it's not linear, it's not a box, so you may have probes that goes inside the walls and things, and it will be very painful for you to deal with that. Alright, I'm pretty sure. So now the only thing you have to do is select everything that has a glass on it, right? Let's select everything that has a glass. Detach, so we are basically removing that from the main geometry, because we don't want to tell the cycles this is glass, so and they were combined, so we basically separate them. Now we have our glass here. For the sake of organization, you can even put this into another collection like glass inside your main collection. Okay, and that's it. That's our glass shader. I will put this guy a little bit darker and with less alpha or something like this. And do you guys remember? Let's add an ID, a different ID for these guys. And you can go to any selection. If you have all of them selected, go here and choose. Do you remember which ID is the glass? No? Okay. If you don't remember, just always go to your plane material and check glass ID 1. Okay, so let's select them again, or you can go here, select all of them, and then you go here, change it to 1, right button, click right button and copy to select. So basically, if you don't want to attach all the geometry, you still want to have the glass separate, the pieces separate, you basically doing this, copy to select, you copy this parameter to the other pieces. Okay, so now we have these guys, and the only thing we have to do now is go to our emissions, which is here, right? Emissiveness. Okay, select these guys, this, and this. Okay, and we go to edit mode, select just the emission. Oh, those are instances. Okay, in this case, you know, Eevee is not gonna work with instances. In this case, I will just combine them, right? I will combine them. Control P. No, it's Control G. Okay. Sorry, I have to select this guy for the last, and then oh, they have the modifiers applied. Okay, applied. Okay, so in this case, let's do this. Control A, let's apply all the modifiers, and now we do Control G. But we have to apply the modifiers here as well. Control E. Okay. Make it single. Go here. Control A. Down. This is something that you are dealing, because this scene, I didn't create this scene by myself. I took this scene from somewhere else. Then I know the scene it was made like this. It's not wrong, it's just because the scene came with some setups that I wouldn't have created if I do that myself. If I was doing that myself, okay, that's the only reason. Okay, now I go to edit mode, and then I have all my emissiveness selected. I just need to P and separate them. Okay, then I select all of them. No, I want you guys. Okay, and then go here. What is the emission? 2, ID 2. So ID 2. Copy to selected. Let's check that on Cycles background, just to see how it goes. If everything is as we expect, Okay. Where's my camera? Oh, my camera is still animated, man. Okay. My camera is still animated, but I think everything is working as I expect. Okay, everything is working as I expect. I expect to get these shadows in my Eevee render. Okay, so let's go back to, oh, that's why this was on. So every time I was changing to my cycle scene, I was kind of animating that. Okay, so not anymore. Let's go back to Eevee and testing. Okay, so you see how the render look like in Eevee. Okay, let's try to render this in Eevee RayTrace and see how it goes. Voila. You see, guys, so that was pretty much Eevee without any baking, without anything. You see, all the shadows in the ray trace was casted there right away. Okay, let's change this background. One more test, just one more test to show you. Let's go to our world and maybe pick up a different light condition, maybe this light condition. Okay, and we may want to rotate. Maybe something like this, right? Something like this. Let's see how it goes. Here you go. That's your Eevee Easy Render, and then you can go and check it out. The materials, everything, like makes your scene looks better, right? But you have more accurate reflections. If you don't like those graining, this is all composition. You can go to your composition and change it, and voila. That's everything, guys. And I have my email. If you get the tool in Gumroad, if you get this scene preset on Gumroad, and you figure out that you have any questions or something that it needs to be more explained, just throw me some email, and then I can detail the process and explain more to you. And I hope you really enjoy the tool and have a good renders. Yeah, looking forward to see what you guys can produce with that. See you soon. Take it easy.